Hello and welcome to Never a Truer Word. And this episode is a follow-up to the previous episode looking at a statement that I had no idea about whatsoever. So if you haven't seen that, I would do that first. And I looked at that statement, but I didn't know the story, I didn't know the person involved, to try and see how much I could learn about the person making the statement, but also events that led up to making that statement. And here's the conclusions, here's where I left it. I thought this guy believes his excuses. So he made some excuses in the statement and then said, time is over for excuses. But I thought he really thought his excuses were still valid, still backed up what he did. This person had a high opinion of himself, quite arrogant, I think, but also a high opinion of his work. He thought he had a lot of fans. He thought he was kind of famous, and maybe that fame would get him out of whatever it was that he did. But I saw a lot of self-loathing in there as well. Very direct, talking about how pathetic he was. I think he does see himself as pathetic, and I thought that self-loathing, that could lead to some anger. This was someone who liked to show control in his words. Even when he didn't have control, he liked to portray that he was in control, which was either an image management thing or this is a person who is controlling who made that statement. And this person, image is all important to them. What they portray, the perception of him, that was very important in that statement. And what did I think about the events that led up to the statement? Well, I said I thought English was not the first language of this person. I wasn't sure this was a native English speaker because there were some words, misspellings and so on, and misuses of words that were interesting. I thought this person had killed their ex and their ex's new partner. I thought the person making the statement had defended himself on his platform. So this was someone who was doing some sort of broadcasting and at the trial. They mentioned they were at the trial, but I didn't think that was successful. And I think that frustrated them, that the excuses that they trotted out were not successful. I think they'd received some backlash from their audience and other people around these excuses, the defense that they staged. I think this person in the murder, I think they acted with anger. There's definite signs that anger was in there and a real lack of control over what was going on. But I do think they acted with intent. They tried to show us that this was just some random sort of loss of mind and something silly that happened. But I think they were trying too hard to persuade us of that. So I think that they had the intent to kill at the point they went. I don't think this was just some thing where they'd snapped and something had gone wrong. I think there was intention to kill there. And then there was other ones that I wasn't quite so sure about, but I wondered if a stabbing was involved. They talked from the bottom of their heart and talked about something being heartbreaking. And I thought that potentially those words indicated a stabbing may have taken place. And I also thought that some stalking might have been involved in this case, stalking of the ex. They talked about them being the love of their life. And I just wondered, were you horrible to this person and using love of the life to try and persuade us why you were so interested in what they were up to? Or was there some sort of obsession going on there that they couldn't get over the fact that their ex was no longer their current partner? So I had to look up and see how right I was. The only edits in what follows are for time because watching someone on Google is not that interesting. But this is what happened when I put the name of the person who made the statement into Google. So I've just found the guy's name there. So it's Jin Kid Wife. It's come up as one of those. I'm just going to look at murder first. He will die in prison. San Diego TikToker Ali Abdulaban sentenced for murdering wife and her friend. Okay, so let's read that story. Former San Diego TikToker will spend the rest of his life in prison for killing his estranged wife and her friend at an East Village high-rise apartment building in October 2021. A judge ruled on Friday. The judge ruled Ali Abdulaban, 32, who went by Jin Kid on social media, will serve 2 consecutive 25-year to life sentences for the murders of Anna Abulaban and Rayburn Cadenas Barron at the Spire San Diego luxury apartment complex. Upon sentencing, the judge said he had serious reservations that Abulaban was truly remorseful for his actions. The San Diego Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Fraser said, "The bottom line here is he will die in prison. He will never be a free man. He will take his last breath there." The court allowed 6 of Anna Abulaban's and Barron's loved ones to provide victim impact statements before Judge Fraser made his ruling. Her sister was visibly upset. She screamed about the effect the loss had on the family. "Ali, if I had known what my sister had been through with all that abuse, so there we go, attentions. So there was this, it wasn't a momentary lapse of judgment or anything. He was one bad guy. If I had known, I would have flown again to see her and to take her and Amira from you. Reading words written on yellow, lined in paper, he apologised for the pain he had caused the two families, but continued to defend his actions as a crime of passion. So he has defended himself. He said it was a crime of passion. So again, we do see that he has put up some defence. During a drug-induced psychosis. So he wanted to get across that this was a one-off, that this wasn't a bad thing. But as we've seen there, he seemed to be abusing his partner, or his ex-wife. So then there was this ongoing element to it. It wasn't just one moment of madness, which as I got. Fraser called Abulaban a very talented actor. I said there was a lot going on there. The fact I spent way more time on the stand than the jury took to deliberate my fate is very concerning, he said. So he did get up and try and explain himself on the stand. He did try and do a lot to defend himself. Let's read closing arguments. Heat of passion does not apply when you walk into an apartment that you had bugged with a key card. Bugged, I said obsessive, I said stalking behaviour. So this is going quite well so far. With a key card you were not supposed to have. Again, stalking and obsessive behaviour. To a fight no one else knew was happening but you, and you brought a gun. So it wasn't a knife, it was a gun. He had plenty of decisions to rethink his decision to drive downtown. He went to shoot and kill her. So there was intent behind it. So the stabbing I got wrong, but the rest of it, I didn't. He was so possessive and controlling of Anna. So I said control was important to him. He wanted to show that he was controlling, in his words, that going to prison was his choice, the thing he'd done. So I got that one as well. History of domestic violence. So again, this was ongoing, willful, deliberate, premeditated. This wasn't a moment of madness that the guy had there. So what did I say in my summing up? Let's just look at it and let's just see how accurate I was around the events. I said English was not his first language. I need to look at that one, so I'll come back to that one in just a moment and look at his history. He killed his ex and new partner. Nothing there saying new partner, but it was a man. So in his head, it was a man that she lied with. Defended himself on his platform and on trial. He seemed to think that the fact he'd spoken for a long time was him defending himself. Yeah, for sure. He received backlash, certainly received backlash from the victims' families. I don't know if he received a backlash on social media. I'm kind of guessing that he did. He acted with anger. Yeah, that certainly sounds like it. Lack of control certainly sounds like it, but he acted with intent. Yes, he went round there with the intent of killing them, according to the jury, according to the verdict. Stabbing, I got wrong. It was a shooting, but certainly stalking, obsessive, bugging her apartment, had a key card that he shouldn't have had. So I'm quite happy with those. I'll Google now. Let's just see if I can find more about, now I know his name, what his background is, to see if English was not his first language. So how do I Google again? Right, so I have just had a look, and he was born in Staten Island, so English was potentially his first language. I don't know if he grew up in a house where maybe there was multiple languages he spoke. I've also just seen that is the TikTok star murder. So I have heard of the case. I don't know anything about it, but I have seen headlines and so on pointing to the TikTok murders. So it was about that. I didn't realise that was the story that I was covering at all. So I kind of missed that platform. Yeah, should have got that one as well. Maybe known that I had heard a little bit about the story. But the some of the headlines that I can see there are absolutely terrible in terms of what happened. Obsessed with fame, TikToker left trail of violent video evidence detailing abuse of wife that he murdered. So obsessed with fame, image management was there, and obsessed with her. I want you out of my life. TikToker's wife texted him hours before he killed her. So again, this was obsessive, and it wasn't a moment of madness like he was trying to get across in that statement, that it was all a very small thing. It was like a lapse of judgment on that terrible day. This guy was a bad boy for a long time. So I'm really pleased with that. Got some things off beam, got some things close, got some things spot on as well. But that is how much, if you really look at the words, you can get from a statement. We'll see you again soon for something new and maybe a bit less risky from Never a Truer Word.